At first I was flattered. I have a couple of creepy stalker stories, but this one takes the cake. So the ordeal started around March of 2012. I'd just officially broken up with my high school sweetheart, who I had dated for 3 years. I guess you can say I was pretty vulnerable and eager to just get with anyone. Well, this was a bad mentality to have, because it led to me meeting Oscar. He worked at this smoothie place that was on my walk to work. When I first saw him, I thought he was very attractive. Sadly, I initiated our encounter. Since I approached him with my banker, I worked at a bank, and handed him a business card with our names on it, in case he needed to open an account. I didn't think much of it really, though. He was a cute guy that I probably would not encounter unless I needed a smoothie. That evening, when I got home, though, I saw I had received a message from him. That should have been a red flag, but at the time I was flattered he had taken the initiative to find me on Facebook, and it didn't creep me out that much, because I saw we had some mutual friends on there. He just said something along the lines of, "Hey, I hope you don't mind that I sent you this message. Just thought you were pretty cool and cute." I was pretty excited about it since I thought he was so good looking. When I asked him how he knew the two mutuals, he said that he had met them once at a party. So he didn't really know them, but that should have thrown me off a bit, but I still continued talking to him. Soon enough, I agreed to meet up with him, and our first hangouts were pretty cool. But nothing really out of the ordinary happened for the first 2 months. Around May, his true colors came out, and I came to find out that he was a loser scumbag. He would text me at 1 in the morning and say the scummiest, most disrespectful shit. I would ignore the text, but the next day he would text me like, "Hey, what are you up to? How was your day?" Completely disregarding the foul, perverted stuff he'd sent me the night before. When I would call him out, he would say, "Oh, I was so high," or "Oh, I was so drunk. I didn't mean it. Sorry." Since I liked him and I was a blind idiot, I would let it slide. But this kind of behavior continued up until September. At this time, he had been fired from his part-time smoothie job, had no car, and still lived with his parents. We were both in our early 20s. He had no money, and he had the audacity to ask me for money in exchange for sex. He basically told me that he would be my sex slave and charge me $70 a week. At first I thought he was joking, but then he started to go into detail, saying he would use the money I gave him to sell weed and I would get 10% interest and all this shit. I wanted to believe this was all a joke, but part of me felt uneasy and disgusted. Then, to top it off, around that time, I found out through some of my chick friends that he would send them all messages on Facebook and say, "Hey, thought you were pretty cool, and you look pretty cute. So, here's my number." So this guy would go to my Facebook, click on my friends list, and send friend requests and or messages to any girl he found attractive. Some of those friends would see we were mutuals and ask me who he was. I warned them that he was this creep and I used to talk to, and that they were better off ignoring him. So basically, he was just some loser creep who would sit on his computer and add all these girls and use the same pickup line. No wonder he didn't really know the mutuals we had at the time that we met. All of this creepy/sleazy behavior had culminated towards the end of the year, so I decided to block him from Facebook and block his number. I know you guys might be thinking, if he was such a creep, why didn't you just stop talking to him sooner? But the thing is that he would do these weird, creepy things through text and social media, which I just regarded as him just being a guy, and he acted very sweet and chill when we hung out in person, so it was very confusing, and I was trying to figure him out. It was until he tried to contact my friends and say those weird things and other messed up shit that made me realize something was way off. After I blocked him at the end of 2012, I thought that would be the end of him and maybe he would just get the obvious hint that I had no interest in keeping contact with him. Wrong. Since January 2013 to now, he has literally popped up every 4 to 6 months. He'll create new Facebook accounts and say, "Hey, sorry for how I acted before. I was going through something. Can we please talk?" Then I'll ignore it and block him, and he'll pop up after another 6 months with another Facebook profile and do the same thing. For example, about 8 months ago, he got a hold of me because I got a new phone and his number wasn't blocked on it. And he sent a text saying, "Hey, how are you?" After 2.5 years with him knowing I blocked him, he still texts me once in a while just to see if he can get through to me. Creepy! The last time he tried to contact me, though, was through some weird phone number. When I realized it was him, I had told him to leave me alone. My boyfriend previously got involved and threatened to file a civil harassment suit if he continued to contact me. My boyfriend found it ridiculous that it has been almost 3 years and he still doesn't get it. Is there something wrong with him? It's been 4 months since that call, and I hope it stays that way. I can't help but feel anxious that he'll pop up again, like he always does. I have even prepared scenarios in my head in case I were ever to run into him. Another thing that freaks me out is that he knows where I live, since he once picked me up back when we started talking. So, Oscar, let's not ever meet again. This is the first time I've ever written this down. Even though it was over 6 years ago, it has changed my personality forever. This isn't a made-up story. It genuinely happened, and I was actually featured in my local paper, but I don't like the idea of people knowing who I am or finding me, so I won't link it. I'll try to keep this as short as I can while giving most of the details. A little background for context, first of all. I'm a female and was 23 at the time of the incident. I was living in a house my parents left me after they died. My dad died when I was 5 from a stomach ulcer, and my mom died from womb cancer when I was 22. I'm an only child with no grandparents or other family. So, as you can imagine, it was pretty devastating to lose my mother, and I wasn't ready to sell my childhood home yet. So, I was living there alone at the time. The way the house was situated was pretty perfect of any criminal behavior, I guess. Because although it wasn't isolated, neighbors about a stone throw away on both sides, it was surrounded by very tall trees at the front and backed onto a forest. So anyway, with what happened, the first odd thing that did not seem odd at the time was that someone was ringing the doorbell a lot, very early in the morning. At first I ignored it because I was still grieving and depressed, so I didn't really care about the outside world at the time. Anyway, the person seemed to leave after about 5 or 6 rings, and I fell back asleep. Cut to the afternoon. The doorbell rings again, and this time I can't ignore it because the man outside could see me through the blurry glass door in my hallway. So I answer it, and this homeless-looking man with a huge backpack on the ground starts asking me about my home. He obviously wasn't a part of any company, so thinking he's an oddball and trying to see how easy it would be to rob my house, I politely say I'm not interested and close the door. He stands there for ages, but I see him eventually leave, and I just brush it off. 20 minutes later, he's back. Thank God I locked my door. Thank God I locked my door, because I can see him walk straight up to the door and start trying to open it. I just shout through the glass at him, and he looks shocked and says he knew my mother. I just ignore him, and I just call the police straight away after checking that all the doors and windows were locked. While I'm still on the phone, I hear him using what sounds like tools, and I'm getting scared he's about to break through the door. I stand by my back door. About 30 seconds later, I see my front door shutter and slightly open. I panic and drop my home phone. Smart, I know. And I run as fast as I can down my garden into the woods, onto the path to the neighboring street. I don't see him anywhere, so I assume he's robbing my home, and that's all he wanted. Slightly relieved, I knock on a stranger's door at random and ask them to call the police again. The police arrived to meet me in the living room of this stranger, what seems like hours later, but was probably only around 40 minutes. I had to go to the police station, and I found out exactly what happened was a lot creepier than I had ever imagined. When the police got to my home, the man was gone but left a host of evidence, fingerprints, and other evidence. And because he was known to the police, he was picked up the next day hiding in a family campsite. Obviously, he wasn't too bright, and he had a long list of mental problems, everything from schizophrenic to manic depressive. He used a long screw-like tool to break my door lock by hammering it through. Once inside, he left huge knife carving marks all the way down the hallway, as well as muddy handprints and the creepily carved out words on all four of the bedroom doors, which were almost all spelled incorrectly, like the word bitch as well as the phrase got you. It might not sound like much, but I can't explain how scary it is to see sliced marks meters long covering your hallway. He also left a large knife stabbed into one of my bedroom doors, fingerprints and all. He didn't steal anything as far as I'm aware, but had actually left a note for me that morning when I hadn't answered the door, although I never saw it because it was under a plant pot. His spelling was atrocious, so it was hard to even fully understand what the note said, but he proved to know my full name, age, and the fact that I lived alone. Frustratingly, I wish I could say he went to prison for a long time. But in the end, I think he only got around 3 years, even though he was wanted for other petty crimes and a way more serious case of rape. I've never seen him again, and since sold my old family home, but I can't bring myself to answer the door to any strangers to this day. So, creepy homeless man, let's not meet again.